The lonely Summit Vikram Dewan stood at the floor-to-ceiling window of his penthouse, watching the Mumbai skyline glitter beneath him. At 38, he had everything money could buy: a tech empire worth billions, properties across 3 continents, and a social calendar filled with people eager to be seen with him. Yet as he swirled the whiskey in his crystal glass, he felt nothing but emptiness. "Mr. Dewan?" His assistant Rohit's voice broke through his thoughts. "The new household staff assignments you requested." Vikram took the tablet without a word. After his wife Ananya's death 4 years ago, he'd grown increasingly isolated. The discovery that she had married him primarily for his fortune, a cruel confession she'd made during their final argument before her accident, had poisoned his ability to trust. Since then, every smile seemed calculated, every compliment a potential ploy. He scrolled through the profiles mechanically until one caught his attention. Nisha Kapoor, 29, recently hired as a housekeeper. The security notes mentioned an incident. She had found an expensive watch left by a guest and returned it immediately, declining a substantial thank you offering. According to the staff manager's notes, she had simply said, "I don't need payment for doing what's right." Vikram paused, intrigued despite himself. In his experience, everyone had a price. The next morning, he observed Nisha from his home office security feed. Unlike the other staff who moved with practiced efficiency but little engagement, she worked with care, straightening family photos, handling books with appreciation rather than obligation. When she thought no one was watching, she paused at his late mother's painting, studying it with genuine interest. "Research Nisha Kapoor," he instructed Rohit later that day. "Everything. Family background, financials." The results were unremarkable yet compelling. Born in a small town near Pune, literature degree incomplete due to family financial crisis after her father's death. Supporting 2 younger siblings through college, one studying medicine, the other engineering. Modest apartment in a working-class neighborhood. No social media presence except a small book review blog with thoughtful analyses of classic literature. "She's clean," Rohit concluded. "No red flags." "Everyone has an angle, Rohit. We just haven't found hers yet." That night, Vikram couldn't sleep. The cynicism that had become his armor felt suddenly heavy. Was he so damaged that he needed to investigate someone simply because they appeared honest? Or was he right to be suspicious in a world where authenticity was the rarest commodity? An idea formed, outlandish, perhaps unethical, but irresistible. He would discover Nisha Kapoor's true character, not through background checks, but through direct observation. "I need to make some arrangements," he told Rohit the next morning. "I'll be unavailable for 2 weeks. Tell the board I'm at the meditation retreat in Dharamshala." "Sir?" Rohit looked concerned. "And I need a different identity. Prepared. Arjun Sharma, IT specialist. Modest background, recently laid off. Nothing flashy, nothing that would raise questions. May I ask why?" Vikram looked out at the city again. An experiment in human nature. Within days, his plan was set. The staff was informed that Mr. Dewan would be away while a distant cousin, a down-on-his-luck IT professional, would be staying in the guest quarters. With a simple haircut, glasses, and clothes purchased from ordinary stores, Vikram Dewan disappeared, and Arjun Sharma took his place. As he entered his own home through the service entrance for the first time, Vikram wondered if he had finally lost his mind. But the question burning inside him demanded an answer. In a world built on transactions, could genuine goodness still exist? And if it did, could someone like him still recognize it? The disguise. The first week of Vikram's experiment unfolded with meticulous precision. As Arjun Sharma, he occupied the modest guest quarters that shared a hallway with some of the staff accommodations. He'd instructed Rohit to ensure his temporary identity included a believable backstory. recently laid off from a mid-tier tech company, staying with his cousin as a temporary arrangement while seeking new employment. Nisha first encountered him in the kitchen on a Tuesday morning. Vikram had deliberately timed his coffee run to coincide with her breakfast preparation duties. "You must be Mr. Sharma," she said with a warm smile that reached her eyes. "I'm Nisha. They told us you'd be staying while Mr. Dewan is away." Vikram nodded, adopting a slightly hunched posture and nervous demeanor he'd practiced. "Just Arjun is fine. Sorry to intrude on your workspace." "Not at all. This kitchen is meant to be used." She pushed a plate of freshly cut fruit toward him. "Please help yourself. I always prepare extra." He noticed her hands, practical, with short nails and a small burn mark on one finger. No polish, no pretension. As they made small talk, he deliberately dropped hints about his financial struggles and job search frustrations. 38 and starting over, he sighed, watching for her reaction. "Not exactly where I planned to be." Instead of the pity or dismissal he expected, Nisha responded with thoughtful pragmatism. "My father used to say life never follows the map we draw for it, but sometimes the unexpected detours lead to better destinations." Throughout the week, Vikram created opportunities for interaction, accidentally encountering her in various parts of the house, asking for directions, or appearing confused about household routines. Each interaction revealed another layer of Nisha that contradicted his cynical expectations. She kept boundaries professionally appropriate, but showed small kindnesses, leaving job listings printed from the library by his door, offering him home-cooked meals when she made extra for herself, recommending books from Mr. Dewan's extensive library that he probably wouldn't mind sharing in his absence. By the second week, Vikram intensified his test. He deliberately left his wallet containing a significant amount of cash on the coffee table before Nisha was scheduled to clean. Through hidden cameras, he watched her discover it, look around with concern, and place it securely in a drawer with a note. "Found your wallet. Keeping it safe for you, Nisha." Later, when he thanked her, she waved it off. "Anyone would do the same." "Not in my experience," he replied honestly. Her eyes studied him with unexpected perception. "You sound like someone who's been disappointed by people." The observation, too close to the truth, caught him off guard. "I've learned to keep expectations low." "That's one approach," she said thoughtfully, though sometimes low expectations become self-fulfilling prophecies. The comment lingered with him throughout the evening as he reviewed security footage from his tablet. He watched Nisha work, not just her efficiency, but how she treated his possessions with respect, how she once gently touched a photo of his mother with something like reverence, how she'd stopped to help the elderly gardener carry heavy pots, despite it not being her responsibility. For the ultimate test, Vikram strategically placed one of his mother's diamond earrings, worth nearly 2 million rupees, in plain sight on the bathroom counter. When Nisha found it, she immediately called the house manager, documented its discovery, and placed it in the house safe with meticulous care. That evening, Vikram arranged to cross paths with her in the library. He found her examining a first edition, Tagore, with careful hands. "You like literature?" he asked, though he already knew the answer from her background check. "I was studying it before." She hesitated. Before life happened, something in her voice, a quiet resignation without bitterness, moved him unexpectedly. "What stopped you?" "My father passed away during my 3rd year. Someone needed to support my siblings." She replaced the book carefully. "Their education became the priority." "You didn't resent that?" She looked surprised by the question. "Why would I? Family takes care of each other. Besides, I can always read. Books don't disappear just because degrees do." As Vikram lay awake, that night he confronted an uncomfortable realization. The cynicism he'd cultivated as protection now felt like a prison. Watching Nisha, her integrity, Her kindness, without expectation of return, had awakened something he thought long dead. Hope that genuine goodness might still exist. But even as this thought formed, doubt crept in. Perhaps this was all an elaborate performance. Perhaps she had somehow discovered his true identity. Or perhaps her honesty extended only to material things, not to matters of the heart where the real damage could be done. Tomorrow, he decided, would be the final test, one that would reveal whether Nisha Kapoor was truly the rare exception to humanity's transactional nature, or simply better than most at disguising her true motives. Unexpected kindness. The third week of Vikram's charade brought Mumbai's infamous monsoon season in full force. Rain lashed against windows, and dark clouds turned day into perpetual twilight. It suited his mood, contemplative, unsettled, caught between cynicism and the unexpected desire to believe in Nisha's authenticity. For his final test, Vikram had Rohit arrange a fictional job interview for Arjun at a prestigious tech company. The night before, he deliberately stayed in the communal living area, surrounded by papers, looking visibly stressed. Nisha found him there around midnight when she came for a glass of water. "Big day tomorrow?" she asked, noting his scattered preparations. "Interview at Stellar Technologies," he replied, rubbing his eyes. "Probably my last chance at something decent." She studied his disheveled appearance. "When did you last eat?" He couldn't remember. The strange reality of playing a role within his own life had disrupted his normal patterns. Without waiting for his answer, Nisha disappeared to the kitchen, returning with a simple meal of rice, dal, and vegetables. As he ate gratefully, she glanced at his preparation materials. "Would you like me to help you practice? My brother just went through the interview process." For the next hour, she asked him surprisingly insightful questions about software development and system architecture. Vikram found himself responding with genuine engagement, occasionally forgetting his Arjun limitations until he caught himself about to reference technologies only someone of his actual position would know. "You know a lot about tech for a literature student," he observed. She smiled. "When you have siblings in technical fields, you pick things up. Besides, stories and systems aren't so different. Both have architecture, patterns, solutions to problems." As they wrapped up, the rain intensified to a thunderous downpour. Nisha glanced at her watch with concern. "You should get some rest for tomorrow," she said, gathering his empty plate. "What about you? Isn't your shift over?" "Hours ago," she admitted. "But with this rain, the trains will be chaotic. I'll wait a bit." This wasn't part of his planned scenario. "You stayed to help me practice?" She shrugged as if it were nothing. "You seemed worried. Sometimes a little confidence is all we need to succeed." The next morning, Vikram left for his interview, but instead went to his secondary apartment to monitor the household remotely. What he saw surprised him. Despite it being her day off, Nisha had come in early, leaving a good luck. Note and breakfast for Arjun. When he returned that evening, he played the part of someone dejected. "They went with an internal candidate," he told her when they crossed paths in the hallway. Her disappointment for him seemed genuine. "I'm sorry, Arjun. Their loss, truly." "It's fine. I'm used to things not working out." Later that night, a knock on his door revealed Nisha with a book. "Thought you might like this. It helped me when I had to change directions in life." It was a worn copy of Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. Inside, she'd left a handwritten note. "Setbacks are not failures unless we choose to see them that way." The simple kindness, with no possibility of return or advantage, struck Vikram profoundly. He'd designed elaborate tests to gauge her honesty with material things, but her compassion toward someone she believed was struggling proved something far more valuable. Over the next few days, Vikram found himself seeking her company with increasing frequency, their conversations extending beyond pleasantries into discussions of books, philosophy, and life's uncertainties. For the first time in years, he felt himself engaging with someone without calculating their potential motives or advantages. One evening, as they shared tea on the balcony watching the rain, she spoke about her father. He was the most honest person I've known, she said quietly. We weren't poor until his illness. But even when the medical bills took everything, he refused to compromise his principles. Your integrity is the only thing no one can take from you, he'd say. He sounds like a remarkable man, Vikram said, feeling a strange envy for her certainty and goodness. He was. Her eyes held a distant sadness. The world doesn't always reward honesty, but that doesn't make it less important. In that moment, Vikram felt the full weight of his deception. What had begun as a test of her character had revealed far more about his own. The realization was uncomfortable, even painful. He had become the very thing he despised, someone wearing a mask, manipulating truth for personal purpose. As the deadline for his return as Vikram Dewan approached, he found himself dreading the inevitable revelation. He had discovered what he sought, a person of genuine integrity, only to realize that in testing her, he had compromised his own. The revelation. The morning Vikram was scheduled to return as himself brought clear skies after weeks of rain. Symbolism wasn't lost on him as he stood in the guest room, removing the glasses that had become part of his Arjun disguise. The clarity he'd gained through this experiment came with uncomfortable truths about himself. He had instructed Rohit to gather all staff for an announcement upon his arrival. As he walked toward the main house in his familiar bespoke suit, hair properly styled, he felt like an imposter in his own skin, the irony of which wasn't lost on him. Nisha stood with the other staff in the grand foyer, her expression professional, but with a warmth in her eyes as she anticipated meeting her employer for the first time. The moment Vikram entered, he saw the precise second recognition dawned on her face. Confusion, disbelief, then understanding that crystallized into hurt. Thank you all for your service during my absence, he addressed the group, struggling to maintain his usual authoritative tone. You're dismissed to your duties except Ms. Kapoor. I need a word. As the others dispersed with curious glances, Nisha remained rooted in place, her posture straight, but her eyes now carefully guarded. My office, please, he said quietly. The walk down the corridor felt interminable. Once inside, he closed the dictator and turned to face her. I believe an explanation is in order, he began. With respect, sir, she interrupted with controlled dignity. I believe a resignation is in order. Mine. I'll collect my things immediately. Her reaction, so different from the anger or opportunism he might have expected, caught him off guard. I'd like you to hear me out first. Was any of it real? She asked, her voice steady despite the emotion in her eyes. Or was it all some elaborate game? The question struck at the heart of his dilemma. The circumstances were constructed. The person you came to know was more real than the one standing before you now. She absorbed this with a slight nod. Why? What possible purpose could this deception serve? I wanted to test your honesty. By being dishonest yourself? The quiet observation landed like a physical blow. Vikram moved to the window, gathering his thoughts. After my wife died, I discovered our entire relationship had been transactional, her companionship in exchange for financial security. It was devastating. So you decided to subject a random employee to psychological manipulation to prove your theory that everyone has a price? The hurt in her voice had hardened to something colder. Did I pass your test, Mr. Dewan? Was my integrity satisfactory? Her words stripped away his justifications, leaving the truth uncomfortably exposed. This isn't coming out right. You exceeded every expectation, Nisha. You showed me something I'd forgotten existed. genuine goodness without calculation. And you showed me that even good intentions can't justify deception, she replied. The man I thought needed help, whose struggles I empathized with, he was a fiction. Not entirely, Vikram said quietly. Arjun's financial circumstances were invented, but his loneliness, his distrust of people, those parts were real. A long silence stretched between them. Finally, Nisha spoke. I appreciate your honesty now, but it doesn't undo the breach of trust. I can't continue working here. I understand, he said, though the prospect of her departure created an unexpected hollowness. But before you go, I'd like to make amends. Your siblings' education, I want to establish a fund. Her expression hardened. So this is the part where you try to buy forgiveness? My integrity isn't for sale, Mr. Dewan, even at the price of my siblings' education. The rebuke stung precisely because it revealed how little he'd truly learned. Even now, he was falling back on financial solutions to human problems. You're right, he acknowledged. I apologize, not just for the deception, but for this offer as well. It was reflexive. Something in his genuine contrition seemed to reach her. Her expression softened slightly. You've lived so long in a world where everything has a price that you've forgotten some things can't be purchased. Apparently I have, he admitted. Would you consider staying, not as staff, but as a consultant? I need someone with your perspective to help reshape the corporate culture of my company. Full transparency, no more deceptions. She studied him carefully. Why would you trust my judgment when you went to such lengths to test my character? Because you're the only person who passed the test and then had the courage to call out the test itself as wrong, he replied simply. That's a perspective I desperately need. Nisha didn't answer immediately. I'll consider it, she finally said, but not today. I need time to process all of this. As she turned to leave, Vikram called after her. The conversations we had about books, philosophy, your father, I valued those. They were the most honest interactions I've had in years. She paused at the door. The irony being they happened under completely dishonest circumstances. But then she added more gently, though perhaps that says something about the masks we all wear in our assigned roles. After she left, Vikram stood alone in his vast office, surrounded by the trappings of his success, feeling strangely bereft. In seeking to test another's honesty, he had been forced to confront his own capacity for deception and the emptiness it had created in his life. The question now was whether this revelation had come too late to build something genuine from the ruins of his experiment. Bridges built. 3 months passed before Vikram saw Nisha again. Despite his offer, she had indeed resigned, though her departure letter contained an unexpected postscript. When you're ready for an honest conversation as yourself, not as either. Vikram Dewan the billionaire or Arjun Sharma the imposter, perhaps we can talk. During those months, Vikram found himself reevaluating much of his life. He initiated a comprehensive review of his company culture, shocked to discover how fear and transaction-based relationships had permeated every level. He began hosting regular forums where employees could speak freely without repercussion and implemented anonymous reporting systems for ethical concerns. He also sought therapy, something the old Vikram would have dismissed as weakness, to understand the damage Ananya's betrayal had truly caused and how it had warped his perception of human connection. One rainy Saturday, he found himself at a small literary festival in Bandra. Without his usual entourage or driver, dressed simply in jeans and a plain shirt, he blended into the crowd of book enthusiasts. It was there, in the poetry section, that he spotted Nisha. She looked different outside the context of his home, more vibrant somehow, engaged in animated conversation with the poet who had just finished reading. When she turned and saw him, her surprise was evident, but she didn't immediately walk away. "Hello," he said simply when he approached. Just Vikram today. No title, no pretense. Hello, Vikram, she replied with cautious warmth. Enjoying the festival? More than I expected. He gestured to the book in her hand. Tagore? Yes. His work always feels especially relevant during monsoon season. The awkwardness between them was palpable, yet not entirely uncomfortable. Would you have coffee with me? He asked. Just to talk. No agenda, no position being offered. To his surprise, she agreed. At a small cafe tucked away from the main festival grounds, they sat across from each other, the shared deception between them like a third presence at the table. I've been thinking about what you said, Vikram began. About masks and assigned roles. You were right. Nisha wrapped her hands around her cup. We all wear masks to some degree, but mine had become a fortress. After Ananya died and I learned the truth about our marriage, I convinced myself that authenticity was naive, that seeing the worst in people was simply being realistic. And now I'm trying to unlearn that perspective. He met her eyes, directly. Your integrity didn't just pass a test, Nisha. It forced me to question why I felt the need to test people at all. She considered this. What did your therapist say about that? He blinked in surprise. How did you... The Vikram I met 3 months ago would never have come to a literary festival alone, dressed like a normal person, and certainly wouldn't be having this conversation, she observed with the ghost of a smile. Someone has been helping you see things differently. For the first time in their acquaintance, Vikram laughed genuinely. Perceptive as always. Yes, I've been seeing Dr. Gupta. She's helped me understand that my wealth became both shield and weapon after Ananya, a way to control relationships so I couldn't be hurt again. That sounds like progress. Slow progress, he admitted, but real. As they talked, the initial tension gradually dissolved. Vikram shared his company's transformation efforts. Nisha told him about the literature program she had resumed at Delhi University through distance learning. The conversation flowed naturally, unencumbered by employer-employee dynamics or false pretenses. I have something for you, he said eventually, retrieving a small package from his jacket. Not expensive, I promise. Inside was a simple bookmark with a quote from Viktor Frankl. Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space lies our freedom and power to choose our response. You returned my book, but I thought you might need this reminder, he explained. It's helped me pause before falling into old patterns. Nisha touched the bookmark with appreciation. Thank you, it's thoughtful. I've also established a scholarship fund, he added carefully. Not for your siblings specifically. That would be repeating my mistake of trying to buy connection. But for students who have to interrupt their education to support family. No strings, no names attached, just something that needed doing. She studied him with new understanding. That's genuinely meaningful. As afternoon turned to evening, they walked through the festival grounds, stopping occasionally at readings or book displays. Their conversation meandered through literature, philosophy, childhood memories and future aspirations, the kind of genuine exchange that happens when people meet as equals. Near the festival exit, Nisha paused. This was unexpected, but I'm glad we talked. As am I, Vikram replied. Would it be possible to do it again, perhaps dinner next week? She considered him thoughtfully. Not at your house, she specified. Somewhere neutral. Agreed, and Nisha, he hesitated. I know trust has to be rebuilt. I'm willing to take that slowly, however long it takes. Good, she said with quiet determination. Because while I believe in second chances, I also believe they must be earned through consistent honesty. As they parted ways, Vikram felt something he hadn't experienced in years, the simple, profound lightness of being himself without calculation or pretense. Whatever might develop between them, friendship, possibly more someday, would be built on a foundation of hard-won truth rather than comfortable illusions. The rain had stopped, leaving the evening air washed clean. As Vikram walked to his car, he reflected that perhaps this was what his journey had really been about, not testing someone else's honesty but finding his way back to his own.